Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Armourer's Bench. Today we're going to take a look at this British Army on the Rhine threat recognition guide, looking at all of the various com-block armoured vehicles and artillery. So let's dive in and take a look. Okay, let's take a look at this threat recognition guide. So this was owned by a Sergeant Jones. We have no other information on him. The front cover includes an illustration of a Hind and a couple of Soviet AFVs as well at the bottom there. Put together by one BR Corps Intelligence Training Directorate. And then we have a little bit more information about them on the back there. Intelligence Corps with their insignia and their motto. And it says, this recognition guide is produced by 7 Intelligence Company as part of its intelligence training support of 1 BR Corps. Other assistance available includes extensive libraries of information, slides and videos, Soviet uniform loads, combat intelligence refresher courses and posters, etc. For further information, contact Headquarters 7th Intelligence Company, Intelligence and Security Group, Germany, and then it gives the address there. So let's take a look inside. On the first page we have a contents. So we can see there's notes on Soviet nomenclature, tanks, APCs, their recce vehicles, artillery, air defences, engineers, aircraft, and their tank sort of motor rifle units and armoured units, their order of battles, and that little section on Soviet ranks and their service badges. So on the first page we have notes on Soviet nomenclature, which include all the various prefixes for the various guns and armoured vehicles. So you have T for tank, D for artillery, BM for rocket launcher, BRDM for armoured recce vehicle, as well as air portable and self-propelled. So SU for self-propelled, Z for anti-aircraft gun, etc, etc. And then we have the second group letters, and then it gives some examples of them down here at the bottom. So you've got a BTR 60 PB, which is basically a APC 60 amphibious with a small turret. On the opposite page we have a tank recognition guide. So it shows main gun, fume extractor, splash plate, suspension and road wheels, stowage boxes, snorkel for fording, infrared searchlight, and an AAMG. Little section on tank destruction. Then we have our first entry, T55, and it gives photographs as well as some line drawings as well. Gives a basic overview of the role. It's a main battle tank, crew of 4, speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Armament, 100mm gun carrying 43 rounds, 7.62 coax gun, and an anti-air machine gun position as well. It notes here, as an older tank with poorer armour and armament than more modern tanks, the T55 is no longer in use with normal GSFG units. However, it remains the main tank of most Warsaw Pact countries and is being upgraded. Some recognition features underneath the photograph, and each page follows a basic sort of that same layout of some specs, the line drawings, photograph, recognition features, and a little note on anything that needs to be known about the vehicle. So this is notes that the T62 is being replaced by the T80 with GSFG, but it's still in use with many of the other com-block nations. T64, T72, not in use in Eastern Germany, but used elsewhere. T80, this is notes here, T80 uses a gas turbine engine similar to the M1 Abrams, like the T64B. Some examples have reactive armour, although that on the turret front is mounted in a V shape. We can just about see that here. Really nice sort of like grainy, blown up photograph of the T80 there. And they aren't entirely sure on the exact speeds it's capable of either, so it says possibly brief bursts of up to 70 kph. Pretty interesting. Then we move on to APCs, armour personnel carriers, and we have an APC recognition sort of like guide here. So it has anti-tank weapon, main gun, turret, splashboard, suspension and road wheels, and the troop compartment at the back. It has a little note there saying all APCs are vulnerable to anti-tank weapons, and their light armour makes them vulnerable to heavy 12.7mm machine gun fire at short ranges. Try to hit the armour as square on as possible to increase the chances of a kill. Straight in with the BTR-60 PB, and a couple of the other variants, the BTR-70 and the BMP-1, the classic APC. Then we've got the BMD. So this section changes a little bit, so it has photographs on the left-hand page. Then we're into recce vehicles, like the BR-DM2. And its variants. And then we're into the artillery section. So we have here a self-propelled gun, but we also have sections first on some of the towed artillery. Format changes a little bit and heads to a sort of portrait format with title, photograph, recognition features at the top, then some of the line drawings, and then a breakdown of the specs and the vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities of a D30 is it's slow to deploy and difficult to dig in. The crew is exposed and has lower mobility than forward elements. Self-propelled howitzer. Couple of these, two S3, and then a general purpose armoured vehicle, the MTLB, so it's capable of carrying up to 12 troops at any one time. And a note at the bottom says, has a lower ground pressure than the BMP and thus is used as an APC in northern regions. It was a normal tractor for the MT-12 anti-tank gun and had a Vasilic mounted on top of it when seen in Afghanistan. So now we're into some of the air defence assets. Got the ZSU-23-4 with its quad 23mm there. An SA-6 surface-to-air missile launcher carrying three missiles. SA-8, SA-9. Interesting to note that the vulnerabilities of these are the missiles are exposed and relies on other sources for target surveillance. It needs clear visibility. So the recognition guide is basically laying out the limitations of the enemy weapons that are known. And a brief engineering section, some bridge units, etc. Then we're into helicopters. Notes. Until recently, most Soviet helicopters were designed to do several jobs, including liaison, transport, observation, and attack. Thus, most are big compared to ours. When attacking, they will normally use formations of 4, attacking in pairs at low level. It gives the basic major parts of the aircraft, so engines, rotors, weapons mounts, landing gear, cockpit, etc. The first one is the classic Hind attack helicopter, capable of carrying up to 8 troops, as well as being heavily armed. So it notes here a speed of 290 kilometers per hour, with a range of 200 kilometers, and it's armed in various different manners with a 12.7mm Gatling gun, 4 250 kilogram bombs, or 4 57mm rocket pods.
for a total of 128 rounds. It can also carry anti-tank missiles as well. Note, although the Hind is lightly armoured, it is a big target, with lower manoeuvrability than our helicopters. It usually operates in pairs and must hover or fly in a straight line towards its target to use its missiles. So while the Hind's pretty intimidating, it does have its weaknesses. Then it has the vulnerable areas that you can target with various small arms or missiles. So you have tail or rotor blades, engine, and of course the cockpit as well. On the other page we've got the HIP, which is more of a transport aircraft, general purpose. And lastly the Hook, which is a heavy lift, capable of lifting around 12,000 kilograms, about 65 passengers, so it can lift a couple of platoons. And then we're into fast air, so we have the Frogfoot, the Su-25, a close air support aircraft with these classic sort of NATO call sign names. It actually says here at the bottom, the Frogfoot is the Warsaw Pact equivalent of the American A-10. Normally they will fly in pairs at very low altitude, being guided onto target by spotters on the ground or in helicopters for very accurate weapons delivery. Then we have a photograph of it either taking off or landing, with some of the recognition features listed at the bottom. Then over on this page we have a Tank Battalion's Order of Battle, or ORBAT. In a tank battalion of a tank regiment, there are only 3 tanks per platoon, and thus only tanks per company. In war, the tank battalion of a motor rifle regiment, or vice versa, would normally be split and allocated to the other battalions, 1 company for each. There's a motor rifle battalion ORBAT there as well, laying out the various platoons and company structures. And finally we have Soviet ranks, from private all the way up to colonel, and some of the service branches and their badges. Engineers, signals, artillery, bandsmen, medical, motor rifle, tanks, airborne, air force, motor transport, pipeline, railway, chemical defence, etc. So there we go.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that look at this British Army on the Rhine Threat Recognition Guide. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share the videos with friends. And don't forget you can also support the channel via Patreon. There's a link to that in the description box below. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.